It's 4:30. This is WKYT This Morning. The Vice President says the Orlando shooting investigation is becoming more straightforward. We'll have updates on the investigation for you just ahead.
Folks in Moorhead held a vigil for the victims of the Orlando shooting. Our team coverage will continue with that story.
And UK Hospital is trying to learn a lesson out of the tragedy. More on that coming up on WKYT This Morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning, and it's so good to have you with us here on WKYT on this Wednesday. I'm Bill Bryant.
I'm Rebecca Smith. Let's see what's happening in the weather department. Some storms, Micah, that we were dealing with.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to see that later on today as these storms come diving on in here later on this afternoon and off into the evening. You can see it up towards Chicago at this moment. It's going to take some time to actually get toward us. Temperatures this morning sitting there in the 60s and 70s. It's actually a pretty decent feel outside, some a little bit more humid than others. And as we approach the afternoon hour, we'll be settling right there around 88 degrees. It's going to be a pretty steamy day in store, but those strong storms are what we're focused in on. We're going to talk all about that coming up.
We'll watch all that carefully. Thank you. In the news, Vice President Joe Biden says the investigation into the deadly attack at a gay nightclub in Orlando is becoming more straightforward. He says the president will elaborate on that in the coming days.
For now, the FBI is digging deep into the lives of the shooter's family, even his wife, and we're hearing from some of the survivors of the attack. Craig Boswell begins our team coverage.
A law enforcement source says the Orlando shooter's wife is telling FBI investigators she tried to stop her husband, Omar Mateen, from committing the attack. But there's no evidence Noor Zahi Salman ever called police to warn them. She faces possible criminal charges. The shooter's father says he saw his son and daughter-in-law about 11 hours before the shooting and nothing seemed out of the ordinary.
They are married for 3.5 years and she is a very good girl.
Salman also told investigators she had been to the club previously with her husband. Club patron Jim Van Horn says Mateen was a regular.
He used to come in the bar about on the weekend. Sometimes he would be there. Sometimes he would miss a couple weeks and then be in again.
Sunday morning's standoff ended in a hail of gunfire with 49 dead and at least 53 wounded. Mateen held Patience Carter hostage and shot her in both legs.
The gunman entered the bathroom and was shooting his machine gun. So we're all like scrambling around in the bathroom, screaming at the top of our lungs.
Carter says she heard Mateen make the 911 call where he pledged his allegiance to ISIS. Sources now tell CBS News he made the same pledge on his Facebook page during the attack. Near the club, a makeshift memorial has sprung up where people can come to mourn.
It affects all of us so deeply.
Late Tuesday, photos of a rainbow over Orlando flooded Twitter, a sign of hope for the future. Craig Boswell, CBS News, Orlando, Florida.
And here in Kentucky, some folks that came out to honor the victims. Last night, people in Moorhead held a vigil for the 49 people killed in Orlando. But organizers of the vigil also wanted to reach out to the LGBT community in Rowan County. Garrett Weimer continues our team coverage.
Old Glory flew a little lower on this Flag Day, honoring the 49 souls killed in Orlando, as folks at a vigil downtown remembered them. Folks gathered on the front lawn of the Arts Center, standing with the Orlando shooting victims and lighting candles to honor them.
We're all God's creatures, and we need to be celebratory of that.
Organizers say the vigil was also about showing they support the local LGBT community.
We want people to know that even in a small community, even in a rural community, there are people who will take a stand against the hatred, a stand against the violence, and stand with them for and accept all of who they are.
The group that led protests outside the courthouse here last year after clerk Kim Davis refused to issue marriage licenses says it's important again to show they stand united with the LGBT community after Sunday's massacre in Orlando.
We experienced bigotry, hate speech, discrimination last summer, as everyone well knows. And this is another crippling effect upon a community. We understand what Orlando's going through. We didn't have a madman open fire on us, but we still withstood the onslaught.
With their candles lit and their voices in unison, they say they wanted to let those in Orlando, the world, and yes, Rowan County know they're not alone. In Moorhead, Garrett Weimer, WKYT.
The injured survivors of the attack were taken to Orlando Regional Medical Center, a trauma hospital just blocks from the Pulse nightclub. Doctors there have talked about how they use valuable training and called in staff to treat all of the patients and save lives. And now leaders at UK Hospital in Lexington say there's a lot they can learn from what happened in Orlando. Our Monique Blair has that story.
A mass casualty incident is when 3 or more people suffer from a trauma. UK Healthcare is the only level 1 trauma center in the region, so they see mass casualty cases often. UK Healthcare trains its staff every 3 months to be prepared for the possibility of mass casualty situations. But sometimes the best lessons are learned from real-life situations.
The amount of patients that they took care of in a short amount of time is really unprecedented.
Dr. Cynthia Talley says eventually the Orlando surgeons will debrief surgeons across the country on what lessons could be learned from their experience caring for the people who were hurt in the shooting, a common practice after a situation where many people suffer from trauma.
We, get information back from, the Amtrak derailment, the Boston Marathon, so that all trauma centers across the country can learn from those experiences, and so it helps our preparation.
But Dr. Talley says you too can learn from this tragedy.
Most patients that are in an active shooter event die from bleeding. So if someone's bleeding out from a wound onto the floor and you see the blood, the first thing you want to do is just get your hands on it and put pressure on. So any type of direct pressure on that will stem the bleeding.
In Lexington, Monique Blair, WKYT.
We have much more coverage of the Orlando nightclub attack on our website, WKYT.com. You'll also find updates on the WKYT News app.
After months of controversy, the Knox County School Board has voted to keep the district's current superintendent. By a 3-2 vote, the board voted to renew Knox County Superintendent Kelly Sprinkle's contract by 4 years during last night's meeting. In March, the board voted by the same margin not to renew the contract when it expired at the end of June. But state police later said that the board chairman at the time, Dexter Smith, cheated on his GED. They say surveillance video showed someone taking the exam for him. Smith then resigned. He was one of the 3 members who had voted against renewing Sprinkle's contract. Last night, the school board also named Gordon Hinkle as its new chairman. A man charged in a high-profile Lexington murder case took the stand in his own defense as his trial begins to wind down. Police charged Mark Taylor with murder and kidnapping in the 2013 death of Alex Johnson. Police say they found Johnson's body stuffed in a barrel in the Kentucky River. Yesterday, Taylor blamed Timothy Ballard, saying he tried to stop Ballard from beating Johnson. He said he even tried to revive him. Johnson, that is. Last week, Ballard testified that Taylor beat Johnson to death, and he helped dump the body.
I went back around to the driver's side and pulled Alex out, laid him long ways on the ground, tried to give him chest compressions. He was not responsive.
Well, Taylor also testified that he used drugs and his friend's company to take his mind off of what had happened in the following days after Johnson's death. Closing arguments in the trial start this morning. Ballard took a plea deal before the trial and agreed to testify against Taylor. He's not yet been sentenced.
Police have arrested a Jessamine County mother who they say left her 3 young children home alone. Nicholasville police have charged 35-year-old Militia Robbins with 3 counts of criminal abuse. They say her 7-year-old son, 3-year-old daughter, and 10-month-old daughter were left alone. Police say there was not a phone in the home to call for help, and none of the children knew what to do in an emergency. They also say they found prescription medications where the children could reach it. The Southern Baptist Convention is now asking all Christians to stop displaying the Confederate flag. During its annual meeting in St. Louis, the convention passed a resolution condemning any use of the flag. At one point, the resolution included a paragraph that for some said the flag serves as a memorial to loved ones who died in the Civil War. But yesterday, the motion passed, dropping that paragraph and simply asking Christians not to use the flag. The time this morning is coming up on 4:40, 20 before 5, and WKYT This Morning is just getting started.
Some women should get screened for osteoporosis earlier on in life. We'll tell you why coming up in Moms Every Day.
And we do have some storms on the way. That's what we're going to be watching for as we track off into your afternoon hours. I'm going to get into that forecast coming up next.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Micah Harris.
Nothing really going on early this morning. Only a few clouds out there, too, as we're starting to see a system to the north of us track toward us, but it's still going to take a long time before it actually gets here. So through the rest of the morning, I would say there is a small chance of rain. You could have a small chance at a couple of rumbles of thunder, but once we approach the afternoon, the second half of your day, that's a better opportunity. We're at 71 right now in Jackson, and that goes for Frankfort. We'll finish off upper 60s to lower 70s when it's all said and done and that sun finally rises. We hit the afternoon at 88. Right around noontime, you'll start to see a few storms work their way in, and then afternoon off into the evening hours, that is your best opportunity to actually pick up some of these thunderstorms that could be strong, potentially severe storms. And that's going to give us that slight risk of severe weather for today for the majority of the viewing area. Marginal risk down toward the southeast into the mountainous regions, but for the most part, it's going to be right here in the central, southern, northern, and western zones. That is the best bet for actually a couple of isolated severe cells flying on in here. Damaging winds will be our main player. Not only that, but you saw like yesterday, you can get some very heavy downpours with these. Not only that, with some lightning too. Your 7-day forecast looks like this: 88 today with those strong storms. We hit 90 degrees for tomorrow with a couple of rumbles of thunder. And then you can see on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that looks like a pretty good stretch right there in the 80s. Not just that, but the lower humidity too. So there's some good looking weather on the way, but some storms for today is what we're going to be watching out for.
Well, we'll do that and we'll stay right on top of it. Thank you, Micah. Osteoporosis may show no symptoms until it is too late and you already have a broken bone. In today's Mom's Everyday Minute, who should be getting screened early?
Have an older family member who has broken a bone? If so, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends an earlier screening for osteoporosis.
Osteoporosis is a medical condition which weakens bones, making them more likely to break, and it's more likely to affect women. In fact, according to the CDC, 25% of women aged 65 and over and 6% of men of the same age will get osteoporosis. Screening is recommended for women who are 65 years or older and for women who are 50 to 64 and have a parent who has broken a hip. Here are some ways to improve your bone health now. Take medications that strengthen bones and avoid those that weaken them. Eat a healthy diet that includes calcium and vitamin D. Exercise regularly using weights. Do not smoke and limit alcohol use.
For more ways to make mom's life easier, visit momseveryday.com and check out our Facebook page.
For these tips and more, go to WKYT.com, click on Moms Every Day.
Time this morning is 4:46. Good to have you with us on WKYT. A lot more news on the way here on your Wednesday morning.
Police arrested a man they say kidnapped an 11-year-old mentally challenged girl from her Knox County home. We'll have more on that ahead on WKYT this morning. Welcome back in. It's 4:48 this morning. Police in Amarillo, Texas released new details about a hostage situation inside a Walmart.
And they say a store employee armed with a gun took his manager and another person hostage yesterday over a dispute related to a promotion. A police SWAT crew entered the store at one point, shot and killed the armed gunman, and then rescued the hostages. The hostages were not injured. Police have arrested a man who they say kidnapped an 11-year-old mentally challenged girl from her Knox County home. State police have charged 50-year-old Donald Rice with kidnapping. Family members say somehow the child slipped out of the house late Monday night and Rice was waiting for her outside. Police say he convinced the child to get into his truck and then drove off with her. Family members say neighbors saw what happened and they worked with him to go after the truck. The child was released a short time later and police arrested Rice. Relatives say the child is not able to speak because of her mental disabilities.
Why he would take her at night up in a field. The only thing I can think of is bad intentions.
According to the arrest citation, Rice told police he found the girl wandering on the street, but witnesses say otherwise. Rice declined to talk with us from jail.
Well, a new poll shows Democrat Hillary Clinton with a large lead over Republican Donald Trump in the presidential race. The Bloomberg Politics poll has Clinton with a 12-point lead over Trump nationally. This comes as Clinton won the last Democratic primary of the campaign yesterday in the District of Columbia. Clinton met with Senator Bernie Sanders last night, hoping to create a united front against Trump, but Sanders has not officially dropped out of the race yet. A newly released report says fentanyl is becoming a bigger problem in Kentucky. The report from the Kentucky Office of Drug Control Policy says the drug was a factor in more than 400 deadly overdoses in Kentucky last year. That's up from 121 the previous year. The report says many heroin addicts are consuming fentanyl and may not know it. Overall, the number of deadly overdoses in Kentucky rose last year. You can see the complete report on WKYT.com.
About 4,000 active and retired members of the United Mine Workers of America were in Lexington for a rally. Yesterday, they demanded action on legislation they say would preserve retired coal miner health care benefits and prevent the UMWA pension fund from collapsing. Union leaders say around 10,000 Kentucky retirees could see their pensions cut without some congressional action.
Republicans and Democrats both tell me there's enough votes in the Finance Committee to pass this. We can't get a vote.
In a statement, Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell's office said McConnell is committed to helping ensure retirement security. The miners at yesterday's rally included union members from 7 states. A Central Kentucky chapter of the National Association for Black Veterans honored a couple of World War II veterans for Flag Day. Curry Taylor will turn 90 years old in a couple of weeks, and Leonard Hale just turned 87. During World War II, Taylor served in the Navy, and Hale served in the Army and Navy. We talked to both men about their time serving our country.
I was 18 years old, was senior in high school when I got drafted. So everything I saw was new to me. I had not experienced anything like that before.
It teaches you that you have to follow orders and then you demand respect.
Hale and Curry are the oldest members of the local NAB Vets chapter. And thank them for their service.
Yeah,
certainly.
thank you.
4:52 now. Coming up next, to look at some of the stories our news team is working on for you this morning.
We'll also have another look at your morning forecast.
Hey, good morning. Welcome back in. WKYT this morning on the air at 4:56 here on your Wednesday.
Welcome in. Let's take a look right now at some of the stories we're working on for you at this hour.
Our news team busy right now. A Lexington Speedway was broken into again overnight. This time, though, a much different outcome. We'll have what happened coming up in our next half hour.
And another tragedy in Orlando. Authorities searching for a 2-year-old boy who was dragged into the water by an alligator near a Disney resort. Awful, awful story. We'll have more on this just ahead on WKYT.
We anticipate we'll get some storms rolling on later this afternoon. Let's check in with meteorologist Micah Harris.
Yeah, and those storms will be much stronger than the ones what we saw yesterday. Even yesterday, those were more of just your rainmakers, heavy downpours. You got some gusty winds, but nothing that would cause any problems. Today, there could be some problems with some of these storms that'll be moving on in later on. Temperatures are there in the 60s and 70s. When you wake up to 72 degrees like you're doing in Madison County, you know something's on the way. That's just not normal. And we'll start to see those storms move in once again. Your second half of your day, that's the best chance to see strong, potentially severe thunderstorms, with damaging winds being the main player. 88 degrees in the forecast later on today with those storms. Now we head toward tomorrow. Will actually be warmer than that. We'll be right around 90 degrees, but the front's going to be moving through as we go through your day. So once we hit the night and into Friday, much nicer air is in store. I'm going to get into that forecast coming up with another 2 hours of WKYT News in just a couple of minutes.